You ever walk into a place and feel like you don't exist? Not in some philosophical, we're all just specks of dust floating in an infinite void kind of way, but literally. You're standing there, fully grown, breathing, and yet somehow no one sees you. Yeah, that was today. His name was Jerome Wilson, 47 years old, successful as hell, and utterly invisible in this moment. Funny thing, this wasn't just any hotel. This was one of the crown jewels of a hospitality empire he built from the ground up. One of those 5-star, we make you feel like royalty spots where a single night's stay costs more than some people's rent. And yet, here he was, standing at the front desk, waiting to be acknowledged like some unwanted stray that had wandered in from the street. This wasn't a random visit. Jerome had received complaints, not just one or two, but a steady stream of them all pointing at this particular hotel. Guests being treated like second-class citizens, staff with an attitude problem, rooms mysteriously unavailable for certain customers. He could have handled it the usual way, called the manager, scheduled an internal audit, thrown some corporate jargon at the issue and hoped it fixed itself. But Jerome knew better. Problems like this didn't fix themselves, they needed to be exposed. So he showed up unannounced. No suit, no limo, no entourage. Just another guy checking in for the night. And that's when he got to witness his own company's world-class service firsthand. The front desk was manned well, woman technically, by a blonde 20-something named Kim, whose entire body language screamed, "I do not get paid enough to care about your existence." She was leaned back, phone in hand, texting or scrolling or whatever the hell it was people did when they actively avoided eye contact. Jerome waited. Cleared his throat. Nothing. Tapped the desk. Still nothing. All right. Excuse me. Kim let out a loud sigh, the kind you reserve for people who dare speak to you while you're busy doing absolutely nothing. She finally dragged her gaze up to meet his, blinking like he just materialized out of thin air. Yeah? That was it. Not welcome to our hotel, not how can I help you. Just yeah, like he was an inconvenience. Jerome kept his voice even. I have a reservation. Jerome Wilson. Kim barely concealed a smirk as she turned to her computer and started typing with the enthusiasm of a sedated sloth. Yeah. Nope, don't see it. Jerome arched a brow. You sure about that? Pretty sure. She didn't even look up, just went back to scrolling on her phone like that was the end of the conversation. And that's when he knew this wasn't a mistake. This wasn't the system acting up. This was deliberate. She had taken one look at him and decided, nah, not worth my time. Jerome sighed, keeping his expression neutral. All right, check again. Kim rolled her eyes but humored him, tapping lazily at the keyboard. Nope, still nothing, sorry. She didn't sound sorry, she sounded bored. Jerome calmly pulled out his phone, scrolling to his confirmation email. I have my booking right here. He held it up. Kim barely glanced at it. Yeah, well, the system doesn't lie. Neither does my damn email. Another exaggerated sigh. Look, sir, maybe you made a mistake. It happens. Maybe you booked the wrong location. Happens all the time. Oh? Jerome tilted his head. You saying I'm lost? Kim gave him that condescending little smirk, the one people use when they think they're talking to an idiot. I'm saying it's an easy mistake to make. Jerome clenched his jaw, inhaling slowly. And if I wasn't lost, if my reservation was here all along? She shrugged. Then I guess the system. GLITCHED. Double quotes. Jerome knew this system. It didn't glitch. People did. And something about the way she wouldn't look him in the eye, the way she refused to double-check, the way she dismissed him so damn easily, he'd seen this before. This wasn't about a glitch. This was about him. She had decided in the span of 5 seconds that he didn't belong here. That he wasn't worth proper service. let alone a second look. Jerome had been through this before. The silent rules of customer service were certain. People's mistakes get corrected and others conveniently ignored. Usually, he let this kind of thing slide. Pick your battles, right? But today? Oh, today was different. Jerome pulled out his second phone, the one with full access to the internal system. He tapped in his credentials, and sure enough, there was his reservation. Booked, confirmed. And then, because curiosity got the better of him, he checked the activity log. Reservation manually deleted. Deleted by Kim, front desk clerk. Bingo. Jerome glanced up at her name tag, suppressing a smirk. Kim. Oh, this was going to be fun. He inhaled deeply, forcing a smile. Tell me something, Kim. She hummed, tapping away on her phone again. What happens when you delete a reservation? She barely looked up. Oh, it just removes it from the system. No big deal, Jerome nodded. And who has the ability to do that? Kim shrugged. Only front desk staff, obviously, like yourself. She blinked. Yeah. Why? Jerome tapped his screen one last time, pulled up the log, and turned the phone around. Her eyes flickered to the screen, and for the first time that night, she actually looked nervous. Because there it was, her name, right next to the deletion. Kim swallowed hard, her face losing a little color. Jerome leaned in slightly, lowering his voice. So tell me, Kim, why did you delete my reservation? Her mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. For the first time all night, she looked completely speechless. Jerome smirked. Oh, this was going to be one hell of a night. Jerome had seen a lot of in his life, but this was a whole new level. He stood there, watching Kim try to pretend she wasn't absolutely, and honestly, he almost felt bad for her. Almost. But now she had dug this grave herself, and now she was going to lie in it. She kept blinking at the screen, her fingers twitching like she wanted to undo whatever digital crime she'd just committed. But there was no back button for this one. I didn't. She started. Jerome cut her off. Don't even try it, Kim. The way she flinched? Beautiful. Save it. She clamped her mouth shut so fast he almost laughed. He took a step back, inhaled deeply, and calmed himself down. Because honestly, he wanted to go off. He wanted to let everybody in this fancy-ass lobby know what had just happened. But no, not yet. This needed finesse. So instead, he leaned on the counter and smiled. Here's what's going to happen, Kim. She gulped. You're going to find me a room, right now. She hesitated, but when he just stared at her, she scrambled to type. He could hear the shaky tapping of her fingers on the keyboard. Okay. She muttered. Speak up. I found a room. Of course you did. She grabbed a key card and shoved it across the counter, not making eye contact. Here you go, sir. He didn't touch it. Which room? 1427, he sighed. The worst room in the building, huh? Kim froze. See, she thought she was slick. Room 1427 was by the elevators, next to the maintenance closet with a glorious view of the dumpster out back. Jerome knew every room in this hotel hell he had. Designed the floor plan himself, and this was textbook pettiness. Kim, he said, tilting his head, do I look stupid to you? Her face twisted. No, Then why the underscore are you trying to play me like I don't know? Exactly what you just did? Dead silence. The lobby was eerily quiet now. Other guests had started noticing the tension. A couple on the nearby couches glanced over, pretending they weren't eavesdropping. A bellboy in the corner suddenly got very interested in adjusting his little hat. Jerome slowly picked up the key card. Thanks, Kim. And with that, he turned and headed for the elevators. But this wasn't over. Not even close. The second he stepped into his room, Jerome pulled out his laptop. This was his hotel, his empire, and someone had the audacity to treat him like he was some random nobody. Time to do some digging. First, he pulled up the hotel's internal records. He checked staff complaints, guest complaints, manager reports, anything tied to this location. And guess what? Kim's name was everywhere. Front desk agent dismissed. A guest complaint without logging it. Guest reported racial discrimination at check-in staff involved Kim. Kim refused service to a guest, stating hotel policy but did not provide documentation. Kim involved in multiple disputes with guests over system errors affecting reservations. Oh, she wasn't just bad at her job. She was actively malicious. And yet, she still had this job. Why? Jerome scrolled further and found his answer. The manager, Stephen Lane, a spineless corporate yes-man who probably avoided confrontation at all costs. Translation: Kim had been a problem for a long-ass time, but no one had the balls to fire her. Which meant he had to do it himself. Jerome strolled back to the lobby, taking his sweet time. Kim was still at the desk, probably thinking she had dodged a bullet. Wrong. He walked right past her and straight into the manager's office. Didn't knock. Didn't need to. Stephen Lane, a middle-aged guy with peaked-in-high-school energy, looked up from his desk and immediately panicked. Mr. Wilson! What a surprise! Jerome shut the door behind him and leaned against it. Cut the deal, Stephen. We need to talk. Stephen swallowed. Of course. What can I? Do you know what's happening at your front desk? Stephen blinked. Well, I think everything is wrong answer. Jerome crossed his arms. I just had my own reservation deleted by one of your employees. Stephen turned pale. I what? Who? Jerome grinned. Take a wild guess. Stephen opened and closed his mouth like a damn fish. It was Kim, wasn't it? Ding, ding, ding. Stephen winced. Listen, Mr. Wilson, I was going to handle it, I swear, but she's been Jerome held up a hand. Shut up, Stephen, shut up. Jerome took a deep breath, letting the silence hang. You've had complaints about her for months, maybe even years, and you did nothing. Stephen looked like a man facing his own execution. I thought. Maybe she just needed more training. Training? Jerome laughed. Actually laughed. Dude, this woman isn't some confused intern who forgot how to use the damn software. She's the underscore problem, and she's your problem. Stephen looked like he wanted to melt into the floor. Jerome let out a long breath and nodded. So here's how this is going to go down, Stephen. You're going to walk out there and you're going to fire her. Right now, in front of everyone. Stephen's jaw dropped. Right now? Right now. Stephen hesitated, then realizing there was no escape, he nodded. And so 2 minutes later, the entire lobby watched as the hotel manager walked up to Kim and dropped the hammer. She tried to argue, tried to cry, tried to say it was all a misunderstanding. Didn't matter. Her ass was out. Jerome stood nearby, watching the whole thing with a satisfied smirk. And as Kim stormed toward the exit, throwing one last hateful glance over her shoulder, he just smiled. Because tonight, justice had been served, and the best part? She still had no idea who the underscore he really was. Jerome watched Kim storm out of the hotel, her face twisted in a mix of anger and humiliation, and damn, it was glorious. Justice had been served. And yet, something about it still wasn't enough. Maybe it was the fact that she had no idea who had just wrecked her career. Maybe it was because firing one employee didn't fix the real problem. He wasn't just here for revenge, he was here to fix his empire. Stephen, still looking like he needed a stiff drink, turned to Jerome, wiping sweat from his forehead. I handled it, he said weakly. Jerome smirked. No, Stephen. I handled it. You just stood there looking constipated. Stephen let out a nervous chuckle, like Jerome was joking. He wasn't. You know I could fire you too, Jerome continued, his tone casual, for letting this hotel turn into a customer service nightmare. Stephen swallowed hard. I swear, Mr. Wilson, I'll fix everything. Jerome raised an eyebrow. That's cute. But you won't be fixing _ Stephen. I will. And with that, Jerome walked out. By now, the lobby had settled into an awkward hush. Guests were trying not to stare, but come on, this was free entertainment. He headed straight for the front desk and leaned over the counter, looking. At the remaining clerks, "Listen up," he said. "Things are about to change around here. Fast." A young guy, maybe early 20s, nodded quickly. "Yes, sir. Do you work for corporate?" Jerome grinned. "Something like that." He grabbed the hotel phone and dialed a number. The line clicked. "This is Wilson," he said. "Shut this hotel down for a full-scale audit. I want every guest compensated, every complaint reviewed, and every employee reevaluated. If they can't cut it, they're gone. Effective immediately." The entire staff froze. "Wait," one of the clerks stammered. Jerome pocketed his phone and smiled. "Yeah, I'm that Jerome." "Wilson." Silence. One woman gasped. The young guy's eyes widened to the size of dinner plates. Stephen looked like he was about to pass out. Jerome straightened his jacket, enjoying every second of it. "Now if you'll excuse me," he said, heading toward the elevator, "I have a business to clean up." And with that, he was gone. The second Jerome stepped into the elevator. He could feel the tension in the lobby behind him, the weight of realization hitting everyone like a truck. He could almost hear their thoughts. "Oh, _ That was the Jerome Wilson." As the doors slid shut, he smirked. Perfect dot by the time he reached his suite, his phone was already buzzing corporate, his board of directors, probably Stephen, begging for mercy. He ignored them all. Let them sweat. Let them wonder. Instead, he pulled out his laptop and logged into the system. First order of business, cleaning house. Kim blacklisted. She wasn't just fired, she'd never work in any of his hotels. Again, Stephen hanging by a thread. He'd get one last chance to prove he wasn't a total waste of space. Then he pulled up the guest complaints. Some of these people had been disrespected, ignored, flat out mistreated. That wasn't just bad. Business, that was personal. Jerome made damn sure every single one of them was refunded, comped, and given VIP status for their next stay. Because that's how you run a _ empire. A knock at the door. Stephen, his face white as a sheet. "Mr. Wilson, please, I had..." "No idea?" Jerome leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "That's the problem, Stephen. You had no idea what was happening in your own damn hotel." Stephen gulped. "I can fix this, sir, I swear." Jerome tilted his head. "You fired Kim?" "Yes." Stephen nodded furiously. "Just like you asked," Jerome smirked. "Good. Now pack your _ Stephen froze. "What?" "You heard me, you're done. You let this place rot under your nose. You should have cleaned it up before I had to." Stephen's face fell apart. "But Mr. Wilson, please, Jerome clapped him on the shoulder. "Relax, Steve. I'm sure there's a motel somewhere that'll love your leadership skills." Stephen staggered back, speechless. Jerome shut the door in his face. No more second chances. Not in his empire. He poured himself a drink, sat back, and exhaled. The hotel would be better. The business would be stronger. And the next time some front desk clerk thought they could pull that, they'd think twice. Because now, everybody knew who he was.